everybody, and no sound. We can hear me now. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much. We're going to be talking about young people this afternoon, and I really want to kick off my first question by asking you, recent trends have shown that workers in the Australian agricultural industry are decreasing, and this could be entrenched. Liam, can I ask you, why do you think that is, and how do we solve that problem?
Well, speaking of young people, I'm 25 years in agriculture. I think in that time, we've seen the number of agricultural employees decline by 25%. We've seen the number of farm businesses decline by 35%. But the cows are getting milked and the crops getting sown and the rice is being harvested, and all the while we've seen productivity increase 4% compound year on year for 25 years. So the demographics are different, the outcome's different, and the outcome's better. So what we're seeing is, yes, less jobs in the agricultural sector, but they're different jobs doing different work with different tools. So it's declining. I don't think it's a disaster. As I said, you drive around rural Australia, the work's getting done. So that's one element. Society's continuing to evolve. There are industries that didn't exist 25 years ago. They are all sources of competition for young people that have got the world at their feet. They're smart, they're well educated, they've got choice. And so agriculture has to do a better job of positioning itself as being an industry that's full of opportunity, that's safe, that's vibrant, that has education pathways and has career pathways.
Thank you. And Luciano, can I throw to you? Do you have an idea about why and how we could solve some of those issues?
Well, I think what's important, I bring an education perspective in that every young person has an opportunity to understand about food and fibre and agriculture. And I think it's embedded in the curriculum. So the Australian curriculum from foundation to year 10 has food and fibre, which is the term that's used for agriculture, embedded in the curriculum. So every child in schools in Australia has to learn something about agriculture all the way through. And the barrier is that a lot of teachers lack the confidence, lack the access to knowledge and physical resources within their schools to actually teach real world food and fibre and agriculture, and providing them with opportunities for professional development to do that, which is part of our role in Primary Industries Education Foundation. I think also part of that is the community perception of what is agriculture today. And predominantly, agriculture is seen as farming. Agriculture is seen as old man on a tractor. I don't mean a John Deere tractor, it could be any kind of tractor. But there's a whole perception, and parents have a lot of say in that. And what we've got to do is really break down those barriers in terms of the perceptions that we have about what is agriculture, and really have those threads that agriculture is sustainable, great technological advances, is doing great things to combat climate change, and they're all the messages and stories that we need to support teachers with, and also the general public about the perception. So I think they go towards how we improve the way that we have at the other end, that we have more young people interested in working in careers in agriculture. If we hit kids in year 9 and 10 or 11, it's too late. They pretty much have an idea of what they want to do with their lives. We have to start at the beginning in primary school and provide those young kids and the teachers and those communities with a better perception of what is agriculture today.
Thank you. And Hannah, you have an incredible story. You're currently working on a 4,000-acre farm in New South Wales. When you first started, what did you know about the industry and how did you get into it?
Yes, I guess my part here is that I am from the ground. We do have some amazing technology, engineering, and a really good pathway where we're going. And yes, we're meeting production and we're exceeding production. But I think when I think about my entry into agriculture, there is a shortage in staff. There's people that are working longer hours. There are people that are under significant stress. And I think the number one thing for me would be the same thing up here with everyone else, is education. Because when I was in school, I had no idea about agriculture. And then I joined into agriculture in my mid-20s, and it was, you hit the ground running. There was just no, essentially entry level and going, you sunk or you swam. And yeah, so I think definitely that they're the challenges. Whilst we have amazing technology and growth that's happening, unfortunately, for all the big time, for the smaller farmers really, by the time that it reaches our smaller businesses and our smaller farmers in Australia, by then all the larger people have gone in advance. So I think that we need to bridge the gap between all of our smaller agricultural businesses and farmers in ensuring that they are on the same trajectory as everyone else.
I think it's been really interesting listening to a number of the panels here today talking about themes like climate change, understanding where our food comes from, sustainability. They all strike me as issues that are really important to young people. And so perhaps, Luciano, I can ask you first. Thinking about those themes, what are some technological innovations that you've observed in the industry, and why would they matter to young people? Why should they join?
Well, I mean, first of all, the curriculum, which is the framework that teachers need to use to actually teach, has a lot of technology in it. And there's a great opportunity to use agricultural examples, whether it be talking purely in a technology subject or in science or in maths or in geography. It cuts across. And for me, all the innovations that are happening in terms of the production of food, the work that organisations like John Deere and the ability to target to the needs of a particular paddock or crop or whatever it might be, the use of drones, use of GIS and GPS. I think they're very much leading the way, and obviously the use of AI for problem solving in a production sense. But I think what's important is that in terms of technology, to really break down the barriers about what young people think about agriculture, is to think about the whole supply chain. And I don't think we're talking enough about the fact that there's so much technology, from paddock to plate, from cotton plant to garment, whatever it might be, whatever the supply chain might be. And I think there are so many innovations that are really leading the way, and they're the messages that are not being heard by young people and the people who are making those changes, being teachers and parents and the like. So there's so many innovations that story needs to be told on a daily basis.
Thank you. Hannah, have you had first-hand experience with some cool gadgets, tech?
Yeah, I mean, you see it everywhere. We're seeing drones. Drones are becoming an integral part of a lot of farming practices around, especially in those hard-to-reach places. We're seeing that same thing, the paddock to plate. We're able to trace exactly what we're getting at the end, right back to where it started in the beginning, and we're learning our lessons, and we're actually challenging ourselves to try and do something different and create an outcome that might be faster or more efficient or whatnot. So I definitely think that you see it everywhere. Everything that you do, GPS, in your tractors, section controls, absolutely everything, that even in your livestock. So I think it's definitely a great platform that a lot of people don't understand. They don't realise that you don't have to necessarily get your hands dirty and be out there, in the sheep or in the ground or whatever. There is amazing practices out there that accommodate every other aspect, and you feel like you're a part of a team of something really great.
Thank you. Liam, can I throw you a bit of a wild card?
Let's see.
My new editor, Vesna, has sent in a question around how does agriculture approach the work from home proposition when you think about Gen Z and hiring versus the remote work in tech sectors and things like that?
Yeah, we've certainly tried to plant our wheat crops running tractors in backyards. It hasn't worked, so that was a fail. Work from home, flexibility. I think flexibility takes a couple of different angles. So, we have Victorian headquartered business, so we've sort of locked in prison for a couple of years. A lot of flexibility, no one's allowed in the office. We've reversed that completely. At 1st of Jan this year, if you're in the Melbourne Farm Hub, you're in the office 5 days a week. And that's because your colleagues are on farm 5 days a week or 6 days a week. So, it's about we're all in this together. So it's not us and them, it's we. And so that's there in the first place. Flexibility is different. Flexibility is taking consideration for people's circumstances and whether they're, working mothers, whether they're studying part-time, whether they're, whatever it is, they've got a child that needs extra care. So we're a flexible organisation, taking individuals' needs into account. The work from home thing stopped.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'll throw another wildcard question out there, and anybody can answer this. How do we make farming sexy again to attract new talent? Does anyone want to have a go at that?
I'll have a go. About sexy, yeah. So we touched on technology. Technology is there to augment human endeavour. Technology is perhaps a great hook for capturing the minds and hearts of young people that may have a curiosity. But I think if you put yourself in the shoes of someone coming up, what do I want from a career? What do I want from an employer? Or what do I want from an industry? We look at how, what's that? And being given a go, being kept safe, being developed, having the opportunity to be the best version of yourself, whatever that is, I think is really important to people. So as an organisation, we've moved to try and solve some of those things, and that looks like what? Well, we open the gate and we have school groups come and visit, and they come and visit a farm where there are people operating machinery, there's people in workshops, there's engineers, there's agronomists, mechanics, there's HR, there's safety, there's quality control. All these things are happening on the one farm. And so, there's a whole range. And, there's a sustainability focus. So, all those things are happening. Oh, right. I thought it was just a crusty old guy on a tractor.
That's right.
And so that myth is busted. So that's good. We have a scholarship program with Charles Sturt University to give people a gateway into education and an entry into an industry that we're very passionate about. We have a Future Leaders program, so it doesn't matter who you are in our organisation, if you've got the aspiration to be someone better or achieve more, we'll find you and put you on a pathway to doing that. And I think that's been a great win. It's not just formal education. I get on my hobby horse a bit about that. It's important. Informal education, giving people experience, having some travel, seeing the world, I think just as critical in developing people. And then across our organisation, again, doesn't matter who you are, where you sit in the org chart, everyone in our business on top of their base salary has a 5% allocation for learning and development every year. Without asking, that's there. And that's to be a better version of yourself for your benefit and, of course, for us as an organisation and the industry more broadly. So we're trying to put a range of measures in place to address skills gaps and shortages that are perceived.
Thank you. Hannah, would you like to say anything on that?
I think they're really great points. I definitely, though, think being on the ground, as someone, even myself, looking into purchasing property, like farmland yourself and having a crack, or, you look at those younger generations that are in farming families, and there's a lot of risk. Everyone always talks about risk, and unfortunately with risk is a lot of no's, or there's a lot of hoops to jump through to go and try something new. So I think the sexiness in farming and agriculture is probably not where it should be, because there's too many hoops to jump through in order to try, particularly for the younger generation, to get out there and have a crack and to put in those new technologies, because we do have a generational gap. We've got a lot of older farmers and we've got a lot of young people who are around technology. So I definitely think that we need to see a bit more support, I would say, probably from all of our bigger sort of companies, lenders, all the rest, in giving young people the opportunity to create something and bring that sexiness back, that they feel like they've contributed and created something really good.
Luciano, is there anything you want to add?
Well, as a former high school teacher, where constantly we had the mining industry and the military coming into the school, doing presentations saying, come and work for us because we're sexy industries, And as a former agriculture teacher, I didn't have any ag industries coming into my school or other schools. So I think one of the barriers is, how do we get industries to work more closely with schools so they can provide the story of how sexy agriculture is today? And I think that's a key thing, because if we don't get more industry involvement with schools, either they be in urban or rural areas, and regional areas are a no-brainer, but the majority of kids are in urban areas and none of them drive past a farm or a facility that produces food. We need to expose them to that. So if we can't take them to the farm because there's risk assessments, the cost of taking a bus out, and teachers can't leave the school, why don't we bring the farm and the supply chain to the school? And I think that's a real key to telling the story today. And if we don't start doing that more and help teachers to do that, then I think there's less and less of understanding of again, how innovative and how technologically advanced agriculture is today, and the positive things, because young people are really concerned about climate change, and they're really concerned about what is agriculture doing about climate change. And the stories they're getting are very negative. So we need to be able to break down those barriers by going into schools and providing teachers and young people and the careers advisors with a real good perception and vision and story about what is agriculture today.
I think we can cut the schools out and go straight to the young people on Snapchat and TikTok.
Absolutely.
I say that in all seriousness, right? And you get on Instagram, there are some great Australian farming companies that run awesome Instagram accounts, and you look at them and go, wow, I want to go there. How much fun does that look? And I think, talking about technology, it's a communication channel to some of these people we're trying to reach, and we're probably a bit slow on the uptake there.
Thank you. We've only got about a minute left, and I've got some great questions here about how do we compete in terms of wages with our international competitors. Liam, do you want to have a crack at answering that quickly?
Yeah, mate, it's just a reality. We've got to do better. We've got to have more profitable businesses so we can compete. I don't go to the whinging, it's unfair, mining pays more. Well, we've got to do better as business operators, generate the profits to reward people and attract them. So.
Thank you. And look, maybe we can just have a quick fire round. If this room was full of school leavers, young people younger than that, what would you tell them? Towards 2050, why should they pick up a job in agriculture in Australia? Liam?
So, that's a look at Hannah. I mean, she doesn't have a farming background, really passionate about it, having a big swing of the bat, and all kudos to you and well done.
Thank you very much. I probably would say to a bunch of kids is that go and tap on the door of your neighbour or, a farm, because 9 times out of 10 there's probably an older gentleman there that would love to pass on some knowledge and show the hard work that he has been doing over the last 50 years that no one's probably said thank you, you've done a good job for. So I definitely think that would be beneficial for both the older generation and the younger generation. They'd really get a kick out of it.
Thanks, Hannah. And Luciano?
Well, I think, as I said before, is really giving the opportunity for industry to work with communities and schools to really provide that perspective on the nature of industries. We've done some research and we've asked students about their knowledge, understanding and sentiment towards agriculture, and we asked that question about working in agriculture, and at least 85% of students thought that agricultural jobs are poorly paid, had poor conditions, and there was an expectation they have to go and work in a regional area. So I think there's a lot more work that we need to be doing there, and that's why I try and get to as many school events and careers events and talk to a lot of schools to really try and break down those barriers. And communication, as Liam said, tapping into the communication channels that young people use is really important. And it's a minefield out there. How do you do that effectively? By pitching the right message.
Thank you so much. We've run out of time. I really appreciate all of you here today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.